Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, November 9th, 2020. I am back once again, Don Tony, and this is your mailbag. Mailbag from the scumbag. Ask DT anything. I am back. This is the second ever episode that we're doing here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Now, I want to apologize for everyone for the format that I had set up for the questions for this episode. Yeah, I look back on it and I agree with some of you who messaged me. Maybe a little bit lazy on my part. You know, basically what I did was the last episode I did of the Q&A that went over 3 hours. I said, if you have any questions for the following episode, post them there. And it got a little confusing because of the title, because they didn't know, was this the episode? I would think that if it's 3 hours long, I'm not telling you for 3 hours, post your question here, post your question here, post your question here, post your question here. But it is kind of disorganized. So I will put in a separate thread. In fact, by the magic of technology, when I go over here, that means right there, you'll see a link. You could click that link and post your questions for the next episode, which I will be doing in 2 weeks. That'll be right after Survivor Series. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Survivor Series is coming up. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I know later on tonight, even though most of you will check out this episode after Monday, I'm going to have a nice conversation with Mish, something that I touched on Friday that got a pretty interesting response on the Don Tony show. And that has to do with The Undertaker and Survivor Series. And there is no way, in my opinion, that that man really retires and walks off into the sunset. Somebody is going to show up and beat the piss out of The Undertaker. And I threw out the idea of retribution. Boy, could they use the rub. And people thought I was nuts. But then again, people thought I was nuts 6 weeks ago. Then I said, hey, betcha Aaliyah and Murphy end up doing a Romeo and Juliet storyline. Oh, DT, why do you always have to think it has to do with romantics? And I don't see it, and this and that. And now you got what you got. So anyway, I like the idea of doing these Q&As every 2 weeks instead of every 3 weeks, because it keeps the number of questions down since it's more frequent, which means I could start doing shorter shows like I promised. Don't have to ramble all that much, but you are here for the question. And like I said, I will post, as you saw earlier, and I'll post it in the comments section, the link for the next Q&A. You can post your question in. Now, if anybody happens to leave it in this, video as well, I'll include them for the next show. This way, I guarantee everybody's questions will be answered. And once again, with all due respect to the trolls, the ones who are shadow banned, if you do not see or hear your question answered, it's only one of two reasons. One, you submitted the question after November 9th and I didn't see it, or you're shadow banned and we don't see what you write. I do have a handful of people who are shadow banned, and it's, like I said the last episode, it's pretty hilarious that they have no idea that they're banned. And almost every episode, just real put downs and putting me down and insults. And then with the questions, some really derogatory. They're in withdrawal. They're having real withdrawal symptoms because yours truly has, branched out and expanded and tried some different, things that make me happy, and they're not happy. But I love the shadow ban. I love the fact that they think that everybody could see what they're writing, but that's not the case. I don't understand it. If they don't like what I do, why do they tune in every week? Why do they go out of their way to post insults? Doesn't bother me, because at the end of the day, I'm here doing my stuff, full steam ahead. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for the support as always, and let's get right into the questions. First and foremost, and I'll shout him out later on because I don't have the person's name in front of me, but I do get asked a couple of times, where do I get the music for the shows? Now, sometimes on the audio only download for Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite, I put the old disco theme that I had before. I can't use it on YouTube because then they'll flag it for copyright purposes. Believe it or not, there is one music company. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank right now. It's like Epic Sonic or Epic something. It's not Epic Records, but it's a music company where I actually pay a monthly fee, and I could use whatever songs I want for the shows. That's where the DTKC theme came from that I still use for Breakfast Soup Raw. Also, the Amazon. I'm in an Amazon frame of mind because I did a little shopping before we went live tonight. But YouTube has music as well that you can use for free. Sometimes you actually in the comment section have to post, give credit to the performer of the music. Sometimes you don't. So the music for Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite, the music's for the Don Tony show, and even the contests, I use Amazon. I keep saying Amazon. I almost said eBay. I'm in a shopping frame of mind, everyone. Wake up, wake up. I just had a bulletproof coffee too, so I should be sharp as a nail right now. But no, YouTube. They have free music, so that's where I get it. Plus, the music also on Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite, like that old-sounding 70s music. Former friend of mine had come up with that, and I use that as well. So that's pretty much where the music comes from. You'd be surprised, even on YouTube. Got it right. If you're doing a podcast and you need music, you should go do a little search on there, and you just look for royalty-free music. And there's quite a bit. I mean, there's some pretty damn good. I mean, most of it's generic, but some of them, there's some pretty good songs. But I will make sure to post in the comment section the name of the music company that I use. And see, that's why it's funny, when I was doing DTKC shows in the past, the one thing that my co-host used to say is, how come we don't put Sick of It All's theme on? Why can't we use Sick of It All? And he doesn't understand how royalty works. I mean, even though the band may enjoy our shows, and even though we may be friendly, I mean, I've never met them, but, if they're considered friends of the show, it's not that easy when you're dealing with a record label. So, so that's why we couldn't use the music at the time. I shouldn't say can't because that show's no more. But anyway, so that's where I get my music, and I'll shout out the person a little bit later. Also, I want to give a special shout out to Muriel Coombs. It is his birthday, the Big 4-5. Today is Jericho's birthday, the Big 5-0. Jericho hits 50. And I got to tell you, man, loved this performance on Full Gear this past Saturday. Yes, the match was a little slow at times, more gaga than anything else. But when he wants to pull out a move, he can still do it. So God bless him. God bless him. Enjoy, instead of throwing insults about him and AEW and his age, and maybe he's a little bit thicker, if you know what I mean. How's about just enjoying the final years of his active career? Because 5 years from now is not guaranteed. 3 years from now is not guaranteed. Sometimes Father Time catches up to you whether you like it or you don't. And, you could be one injury away from calling it a career. That's why it just blows me away that people would just rather focus on all the negative. Enjoy what he's got left. And if Jericho doesn't float your boat, then pay attention to somebody else. So, Jay Carlos, 7X, what's up, my friend? What do I think about a feature on the WWE Network that shows all their shows in chronological order? It's not a bad idea. I'll tell you problem number one. If you want to air shows that go from the earliest to the latest, I mean, let's say you start off with WWF Championship Wrestling, which I grew up on. The last I saw on the network, I think they were around like 1980 for the most part. I'm talking about consistent weekly episodes. And the problem is the amount of time you would have to binge watch to go through 80, 81, 82, 83, 84. Then you get to, Superstars. Then you get to TNT, Tuesday Night Titans. Then you go through, it would take you years to go from that far back to even the Monday Night Wars. I understand when WWE has so much footage that they try to spread it out a little bit. But I tell you, one of the biggest reasons why I stopped watching the network on a regular basis is because they never updated the old school section. That was my favorite section, more than anything else. And the documentaries are great. The 24s are great. And yes, I still watch here and there. Tonight, after this Breakfast Soup Raw is done, I'm going to watch the Paul Bearer documentary before I go to sleep. And I'll tell you, it was phenomenal that they did that. I think it was only 3 weeks ago on one of the shows, someone had asked me, do I think WWE's going to make a documentary on Paul Bearer? Nah, I'm not going to lie. I had no idea that this was in the works. I know with the Undertaker specials, they were going to do some, documentary on Paul Bearer, but not full-blown like they did. And I honestly thought they were going to do it, and I'm so happy. I've seen some clips of what is out already. Some of you already DM'd me to tell me that it was phenomenal. So I definitely recommend. And it's really, really sad, too, because the final 2 years of his life, I remember Georgie Ann, God rest her soul. She was a wonderful woman, and I consider her an aunt. She was just special, and I did a lot of stuff with her. Loved to play poker late at night with her. Texas Hold'em. Oh my God. She helped me with the Conan Drive more than you can imagine. She handled fan clubs for like Buddy Rogers and others. She was a doll. Everybody beloved Georgie Ann Macropolis. Georgie Ann was pretty close to Paul Bearer. And, we were all big people. At the time, I was well over 300 pounds. Georgie Ann was a thick lady. And Paul Bearer, there's a lot of people that still don't realize that guy had gotten up to 500 pounds. And, without even me doing research, I remember at the time that he was going to get, I think, gastric bypass surgery. I think he was contemplating of either the lap band or gastric bypass. And I believe he got the bypass surgery, and he lost a crazy amount of weight like this. Problem is, the damage was already done. And, it's a shame. It's a shame that he died before the age of 60. I think he might have been 58. But getting back to your question, I think, if you want to put a menu up, and as far as listing of the shows, but to do it in chronological order, there would be really almost no way that you can binge watch from the beginning of the network all the way to it's just too much footage. Plus, the problem with WWE on the network also is there are gaps. There are definitely gaps in some years. And, especially if you're trying, and I understand why people always would love to see something like this. See, me, first time I ever saw wrestling as a toddler, as a child, was 1979. I didn't even know what I was watching. So, I started religiously becoming a wrestling fan around 81, 82, when my mom would actually let me watch it a little bit. But the point is that even if you want to go to WrestleMania one time, there's a lot of people out there watching this right now that weren't even born at WrestleMania 1. And they would love to see wrestling, how it happened week after week after week after week at that time, to see how the storylines developed, to see how things changed, to see why the build-ups worked and why some, and you have some storylines that, took a very long time to set up. Today's day and age, especially with the internet, that you need instant gratification, instant answers for anything you want to know. Instant. Couldn't do that back then. So, but I love the idea the concept, and I understand why people would want that, but it would be virtually impossible for WWE. I shouldn't say impossible, it would be incomplete, big time incomplete. Michael Gonzalez, interesting question. Since Shawn Michaels is considered Mr. WrestleMania, who would I consider Mr. Survivor Series? Randy Orton, Undertaker, Bret Hart. I tell you, it's funny that you asked this question because there are some pay-per-views, themed pay-per-views, that someone will get a reputation based on their success, longevity. That's why Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania. But when it comes to Survivor Series, Randy Orton has probably had the biggest success as far as how many Survivor Series pay-per-views he's been involved in, how many, world champion Hall of Famers he's beaten, the high-profile matches. If you want to talk success, the Ultimate Warrior was only on a handful of pay-per-views, and he had probably the biggest success on them. You could look at Bret Hart. But if you start going down the win-loss record of wrestlers at Survivor Series, it's not very impressive. And even if you want to say someone like Undertaker, really, tell me name 3 Undertaker, without Googling, name 3 Undertaker matches from Survivor Series that you remember. They're like, man, that was fire. You really can't think of any. So I never looked at Survivor Series as any one person, especially at Survivor Series was always more of a group, like a team effort. So, if you force me to choose someone, I probably would choose Randy Orton. But for me, Survivor Series, I don't look at it at any one individual's success. Survivor Series, the theme of the pay-per-view is more of a team effort. So they emphasize the team more than the individual. Rick James, she was only 17, but she was young. Those are the lyrics for Rick James, not me. Who do I think had a bigger drug problem in the 90s, Shawn Michaels or Marty Jannetty? I'll be honest with you, and this is not a cop-out. I didn't do drugs with him. I have no idea. It's really hard to tell. You could see that they both partied immensely. I will tell you, just from perception as a fan, I was always under the impression that Shawn Michaels partied harder than Marty Jannetty. Just my opinion. I have no proof. I have no idea. Give Shawn Michaels a hell of a lot of credit for growing up, maturing, and, he's not, almost everybody's like that. Marty Jannetty, it's weird, because Marty Jannetty, I honestly don't think he parties anywhere remotely like he used to. But I think he keeps this perception up of, just being a partier, because he's always got to bring up women and this, that. And yeah, it's, you kind of, some people eat their heart out as far as this guy at that age still being able to get what he can get. But it almost feels like he has to keep this persona up. That's why he always there's a lot of times, especially with women, he brings up stories that you just look at and you say, Marty, why do we even need to know this? There's some people out there that will put it out there because they have to keep a certain persona about themselves. So I really couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. Do I anticipate an Aaliyah Murphy wedding for ratings? I'll tell you the funny thing. I came up with the idea of Aaliyah and Murphy being an item before anyone else, period. And the reason why I could say that with certainty is only because of the timing of my shows. My shows start immediately after the TV finishes. So the first time we had Aaliyah interacting with Seth Rollins and Murphy, I just had that strong feeling. I don't know why some people still go back to that episode and like, DT, how the hell did you even notice this? How the hell did you even envision this? So, it's just sometimes you look at something, even like I said, with The Undertaker with the Retro, I have no idea if that's going to happen. But there's a lot of other things that I've brought up that have happened. And when I first come up with the idea, everybody's like, you're insane. Then it happens. And it's just a feeling You just think. Now, I'll tell you the funny thing about it is, even though I thought about them being an item way before there was even a tease of it, I don't think we're going to see a wedding storyline. I wouldn't be surprised, because remember, the reason why I said Romeo and Juliet from day one, if you don't know the story of Romeo and Juliet, look it up. So it actually does involve marriage a little bit. So if the Romeo and Juliet storyline plays out further, I could see her threatening to run off with Murphy and getting married. But as far as a TV wedding, I don't see it. I don't see it. So could they, in storyline, tease getting married? Sure. But I don't think it would be something on TV. I'm still starting to think more of a setup, but then, Murphy originally was a setup, but then he fell for her. So we'll see what happens. Do I see Lana as the sole survivor for her team? No. I mean, I know Mish and I are two of very few people online that have been saying all along that Lana may be having the time of her life right now, even though she's being put through a table. I mean, I know the character is being squashed, but as far as, her on TV, she could be having the time of her life. I don't understand why people are so bitter over that, especially over someone that they say is terrible and sucks and this and that. But I just don't see it. I don't see it. And even if she was the sole survivor, and then what? She's going to suddenly pull 3.5-star matches out of her pocket. I like Lana. I like her character. I actually like the person as well, and I just, though, don't see it. In fact, I still think, if someone was able to take her spot, like Charlotte, if she was able to return, I could see something happening where Lana can't compete. And maybe Charlotte or someone else takes a spot. I mean, we're still 2 weeks away from Survivor Series, so anything can happen. But I don't see him winning it. I don't. And look, if she won it, that'd be great. If the storyline made sense. I just don't know what you do afterwards. And Rick James was the one, where do I get my music from? So I hope I answered that for you well. Chris, quick thoughts on Kurt Stallion. As you can see, everybody, I don't have no notes in front of me. So everything is from here. And we're getting into a little bit of a good flow. So, I'm not going to think of eBay or Amazon anymore. Kurt Stallion, I watched over the last couple of months a little of his work from Evolve. And to me, his size is very small. But I also look at Matt Riddle, and I'm like, all right, a little bit of working out and tone and definition, that could solve that problem. Seeing him on the mic, I don't think he's very good on the mic. WWE sees something. They see something. I don't look at him right now and think big star in the making, but I will tell you this, from a few people that I've talked to personally about some of the new signees WWE has brought in recently, he is one of the most dedicated. So, right now you look at him and you say, I don't see where this guy could fit in. I'm giving it time. And this could take years. So it's not that instant, he's going to take a magic pill, nothing illegal, and then he suddenly, more developed, cutting promos, has a little bit of a character to himself. So right now, I don't think much of him, be honest with you. Dayak, 666, what's up? Do I see Billie Kay as a manager? No. I don't see her as a manager. I just don't. She's very, very young. She's an annoying character, and I say that as a compliment. Her in-ring work is not all that great. For another promotion, she may actually fit a little bit better. The problem is the women's revolution has led to some extremely uber talented women in WWE. When you start listing all the women in WWE that really can put together a damn good match, there's too many women for Billie Kay to leapfrog. And all you have is, her character being annoying, screaming, cocky, taunting, beauty, obviously, little bit of talent. I don't see her as a manager. Usually when you're a manager, you have a real successful career or something about you. And to me, Billie Kay, I don't see it, to be honest with you. I don't see it. It's nothing personal against her. I just don't see it. Joe Raymond, Armenta, believe it or not, I have not ever been a fan of the Evil Dead movies. This is a true fact about me. I was heavily into horror films when I was a kid, teenager, 20s. My grandmother would take me to some of the goriest films that would come out, and I could take it. I knew it wasn't real. And but I started to become more of a fan of the forensic side and the investigation side, and I really am nowhere into horror films like I used to. There was a few. I mean, when Evil Dead first came around, Hellraiser and some others, like I would hang with friends and we would go see them, but I wasn't into it like I used to be. But science fiction, I always appreciate the artwork, and now is so much computer technology involved. But it's just, I'm not into it like I used to be, especially when there was so many attempts at remakes of movies from yesteryear. I still remember as a kid getting scared. I haven't cursed yet on the show, by the way, but we can curse a little. Scared shit of Halloween 1. I saw that in the movie theaters. I was way too young, obviously, to go. But I remember years later, being a little bit creeped out, watching it. Now it's nothing. I mean, it's just watered down, but it's still the simplification, how simplified it was, made it, so well in a masterpiece. Even if you want to go into more gimmicky movies like Jason and Freddy and stuff, I mean, there was no need to add all these sci-fi stuff and the stuff that they do now. But, and you know what? Like, I was more like Creepshow, Tales from the Crypt as far as TV goes. There was another one too, not the new Twilight Zones, but it was Tales from the Crypt. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank right now, but I used to love, was it Friday the 13th, the series? I never liked that one. I think that was the guy and the girl. Oh, never really could get into that one, but I used to, there was a few that I absolutely enjoyed, but Gary Vaughn, he DJs weddings and events on occasions. What's the craziest, funniest, or most memorable thing that ever happened when I was a DJ? Oh, I got one for you. It's a pretty funny and messed up story. It's not a big deal as far as DJing, but I'll tell everybody, there's a funny story. I went into the Navy in 1988 because I got thrown out of my house for stealing items of my parents and trying to sell them for money. I told the story Friday about going over to babysitter's house and my friend stole all his cash and we cashed it in and went to massage parlors and this and that. Well, that happened in 1988. So I remember it because when I got kicked out of my house, and I've told this story before, my Uncle Joe, as much of a prick that he was, God rest his soul, when he insisted to convince me as a kid that wrestling was fake by putting slow motion video on the TV and showing it to me that the punches didn't connect. But when I got thrown out of my house, he took me in. But the problem was that there was really no place for me to stay. His wife and kids were in Florida at the time visiting family. So he said, they're coming home in a couple of days. You got to do something. I ended up joining the Navy because my father was not letting me back in the house. I had nothing. So I joined the Navy, and it was the best thing I ever did because it straightened my ass out. How does this all have to do with DJing? Well, there used to be a bowling alley in my old neighborhood called Maspeth Bowl. It was in Maspeth, Queens, and on Saturdays, what they would do is they would have like Midnight Bowl. And, they would play dance music and the lights would go down and it'd be neon colors. And I'm sure you've all done this at some point because they still do it today. And colored pins would randomly come down. And if you get a strike, you get money and this and that. So me and my friend Joey used to DJ the Midnight Bowl at Maspeth Bowl, and we would go there with 2 turntables. I have a picture. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I got to put it up one day if you want. There's a picture of me in my bedroom at around 15 years old. You see me with my old Puma shirt, and you'll see me with 2 turntables mixing it up. And so we did it at Maspeth Bowl, and we got like $50, basically anything we wanted to eat or drink, and then if we wanted a bowl, we could bowl for free. So me and my friend Joey would take turns DJing. So at some point during the night, I'm mixing records and this and I'm not very good, but, we're putting stuff together and, my friend Joey's doing it as well. So I wanted to bowl a couple of games. So I DJ'd up until around maybe like right before midnight, and Joey took over and I started bowling. And I was in the league when I bowled, and I did pretty damn good when I used to be in the league. So I was bowling with a couple of my friends, and I got on a roll, and I got strike. When I was in a bowling league, when I was in high school, my average, I think, was like 210 or 220. So I actually, was pretty good. This was obviously a few years after high school. Well, it was only 2 years after. Well, no, it was not even 2 years. But I didn't go to bowling all the way until senior year. I started cutting out of school in senior year, so I think I stopped bowling around junior year. But anyway, I'm bowling, and I'm nailing strike after strike after strike. I ended up bowling a 297. And at that time, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have camera phones. The only thing that they let me keep was, remember the plastic, that it would be like a plastic thing and you put it above a light and then you would see on top the scores and everything. So as I'm getting the strikes, they put an X and this and that. So they let me keep the thing. And it was now like a little bit after midnight. I'm like, I can't believe it. I bowled a 297. It's the best game I ever bowled and this and that. I can't wait to show my mom because my mom always rooted for me for bowling. And I remember my friend Joey was like, you ain't going home. And I was like, oh. And then I remembered that, I got thrown out of the house. So, yeah. So I bowled a 297 while I was DJing. And I was so happy and proud of it. Couldn't wait to show my parents, my mom specifically. And I couldn't because I forgot I got thrown out of the house. So anyway, RCWR, with regards to the election, what do I make of how Trump prematurely declared victory and how supporters are saying stop the count, count the vote? Well, I say this. And I have stood away from politics. I'm fed up with it. I'm just drained. And especially with New York and how they've treated everybody. Now I just have the I don't give a shit attitude no more. I'm just enjoying my life and enjoying it with the people I care about the most. Everyone else could go eat a you-know-what. My honest opinion is this. When you have 70 million people vote for Trump. And yes, Biden, I think, was 73. You have that many people vote, and you look at specific numbers. Was there some fraud? Sure. There's fraud every election. Just the amount of it is, how much of it is the question. All I could say is this. When you're ahead that much, and they don't call it, but other states, they were able to call it quickly. That would be a cause of concern, I think, to anybody. So I think that would be common sense, But I'll say this. I think you have every right to request recounts, depending on how narrow the results are. And if Democrats, everybody who voted for Biden, the people who are part of the Democrat, I'm not talking about individual voters. My point is the Democratic Party is convinced that more people voted for Biden legally, then they should have no objection to having things filed in court to have recounts. Plain and simple. I remember back in 2000, and there were a lot of, things filed in court, and they did a recount, and the results are what they are. If the Democratic Party is convinced that Biden beat him very comfortably, then I think that they should be willing to, if the courts decide, let them do the recount. Rub it in his face. That's how I look at it. I don't know what the level of fraud it was. I don't know. I tell you, somebody had brought up something to me yesterday, and I'm like, man, that would have been ingenious. They should have had the ballots watermarked. Maybe they did. I don't know. They should have had the ballots watermarked, because if someone started making copies of ballots, you couldn't copy a watermark. So if the ballots were watermarked, it would be very easy to determine immediately if there was widespread fraud or not. So, look, do I blame him for believing that he won early? No, because if I was winning by those margins, I would have claimed victory as well. But I think right now the fact that the Democratic side does not want to allow recounts in any way, shape, or form, kind of looks a little bit questionable. And to be honest with you, there's 70 million people that voted for Trump. So if you truly want to help heal the country and have everybody try to work together, if the courts decide that there should be some recounts, those 70 million people that voted for Trump, that if they do recounts and then they realize, no, Biden won, then even though their candidate lost, they have to suck it up, and at least they know that he won fair and square, and that kind of leads to a little bit of healing. Because if you don't do the recounts, if the courts don't award it, you could have a large part of that 70 million for the next 4 years that are going to believe that they were frauded. That doesn't help the country. And I'll tell you something else. I know there's a lot of people out there that are rubbing it in Trump supporters' faces and Trump himself that he lost. But I'll say this. My dad always told me when I was a kid, you don't justify bad behavior with other bad behavior. If people bitched and complained of the way Trump acted and other people acted for the last 4 years, you do the same thing, you're no better than Trump and those people. So, you don't get the privilege to do horrible behavior because other people did it as well, because then it's a never-ending cycle. So, Glass City Girl, thank you, DT, for being weird. She loves all the laughs and the hard work. How does it feel being an influencer? And once this COVID passes, will I ever do a live podcast tour? Well, thank you. I know that I am definitely a goof sometimes. Yeah, I could be a little bit weird too. But, it's like I told somebody yesterday, I said, if we can't poke fun at ourselves, then we deserve to be laughed at by other people. It's sad, especially those people out there that claim that they are thick-skinned and street people, and you give them a little bit of criticism, and it's like you fucking took their pets and put them on a skewer and started barbecuing them. Oh, man, it's just, I just have fun, and I don't care. I have the attitude, like, if people, if I kind of make myself look a little bit like a goof, even if it's like doing this and that, it's just fun. It's fun. I mean, I think laughter is needed more and more, and there's different types of laughter. It's laughter and having fun and enjoying ourselves, and then there's laughter at other people's expenses. You put people down, ha ha. That's not a very good laughter. As far as doing a live podcast tour, believe it or not, there were some serious plans of myself, Mish, Joey Numbers, and I don't know who else. I don't know if Shaheen was going to go originally, but there were plans that we were all going to get together in Florida. We actually looked into going down south to a convention and then, doing a little live stuff there. Hell, I was supposed to go to Chicago. I was going to Chicago for, the convention, the C2E2, I think it was. And then we were going to go to AEW pay-per-view and then come home. Then when I saw the lack of, like AEW was giving me problems to even get a press pass. I don't need a press pass. I pay my way. But it's just like you got goofs that don't even get 20 listeners on a podcast and they get press passes. Like, am I that much of a jerk? I don't think so. So there was a few other things that happened as well. But, yeah, once this COVID is out of the way, we're definitely going to go on and go, I don't want to say tour, but we're going to go, travel a little bit and have some fun and hang out with some of you crazy-ass mofos. And trust me, a couple of days outside of the U.S., maybe in the U.K. or something else, is not out of the question. It just, the timing has to be right. I have to make sure I could get off because of the office work. And, just things have to fall into place. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. Then we got the news today about, I think it was Pfizer, that their vaccination so far is 90% success rate. The measles vaccine has 90% success rate. Do you hear much about measles? So that is a big deal. If that sticks, if the vaccine becomes available by the end of the month, I know that they want to start with the elderly and the most risky, but, a couple of months from now, things are going to be dramatically different. And as far as being an influencer, I tell you, last March, when we went to this Lucky 13 bar, and it was myself, Mish, Joey Numbers, John Draper, and, we planned that for 2 years. And I had the cancer scare. I had to get intestinal surgery, diverticulitis, about 2 months before. And I told those guys, unless I'm dead, there's no way I'm missing this. We planned this for 2 years, so there was no excuse for me to miss it. And when I went, when I say it's life-changing, it's life-changing in some ways for real. It's not BS, but one thing I've said before was, in this video, I had my phone out. I shot some of it. Some people took my phone and shot footage as well. There's like 90 minutes of the footage from that night. But the one thing I'll never forget from that night, and it really changed me, was when the event was over, there was 2 lines that formed. Nobody planned on it. Nobody said to form lines. But suddenly I noticed 2 lines were formed. One line was for people wanting to meet the soup guys. And there was a line to meet me. And I can't tell you how many people that walked up to me and said that I helped them get through a bad divorce. I helped them get through the loss of their parents or a parent. I helped them get through, just absolute devastation in their lives. And people are just and this is just going on and on and on. And, you're humbled, but it changes you. You realize that, I got divorced in 99. I got the marriage annulled, so it doesn't exist anymore. But I could tell you at one point I was seeing a psychiatrist for severe depression. And there was wrestling hotlines, including my own, that got me through a lot of those dark times. And I always remembered that. And then shortly after, I remember there was a hurricane in Florida. And I remember somebody calling my hotline and saying, I just wanted to tell you, I'm on my cell phone right now, my battery's low, and I can't stay on, but I just wanted to thank you for getting my mind off the fact that I'm looking at my house and my house was completely leveled and devastated from the hurricane. And that person needed to call the hotline to get their mind off of it. You hear things like that, that affects you. It really does. And I know, some people out there absolutely hate that I have changed in a lot of ways. Some people had the nerve to accuse me of faking it. You don't fake this. You see it in my eyes. I tell it to your face. Plus, I'm consistent. People that lie, they get caught. I remember last year, a whole bunch of us were having a laugh about someone because, oh man, I wish I could show you right now. If I have a pen nearby, I could show you a funny story. Do I have a pen? Oh, I don't have a pen. Oh, I could tell you the quick story. Damn, I wish I had a pen. This would have been a really funny story to show you. I don't think I do. Do I have markers? Oh, wait. What's this? No, that's not it. All right, I don't. Oh, wait a minute. Furniture pen. Maybe we could do it with a furniture pen. Let's see. All right, let's check this out. Okay, furniture pen. I can't show you this side because this is my checking account number, but let's see. All right, I'm right. There's like no ink in it. There's no ink in it. That sucks. The cap was off. There's very little ink, but you'll get a kick out of this. All right. You see this? I don't know if you can see that. You see that swirl underneath my name? See that swirl? Okay. I'll tell you a funny story. I worked at Finest Supermarket back in 1990. So I'm barely hitting 20. So, long story short, there was a girl that I got along with that worked in the supermarket as well. Her name was Dawn. And a bunch of my friends were like kind of like poking fun at me and this and that. And so one time I was behind the deli because I slice cold cuts. I went behind the deli and I said to my friends, I'm like, guys, I said, look what I got. And it was a card. And I didn't open the card. It had my name on it and it had this swirl. You see this swirl? It's a swirl. If I wish I had a regular pen because it would look 10 times better. But it was a swirl like this. It would have my name and then on the bottom, like a little swirl, little design. And I opened up the card and it said a couple of things like, I want to get to know you better, you're hot, you this and that. And my friends started laughing their ass off. And I was like, what's so funny? And they're like, nothing. So that was it. A day or two later, we went to play cards at my friend's house. And my friend said something to me. And he's like, could you do me a favor? Could you write this down for me? So I wrote whatever he told me to write down. And he's like, and could you put that swirl that you always do as well? And I was like, swirl. And then it hit me. They realized that I was the one to fill out the card. Because to this day, I swear on my mother, I could show you next time, even an anniversary card that I gave my fiance not too long ago. And under my name, I still do the swerve to this day. What happened was I wrote out the card. I don't know why, but I wrote out the card complimenting myself to make it look like that I had a secret admirer. And on the envelope, when I wrote my name, I put a swirl. And when they laughed at me when I first showed them the card, they realized that I did it because they recognized the swirl. And I felt this big. Now, look, this is when I was 19, 20 years old. So obviously, I would never do that now. But for some reason, I felt the need to do that. And it was just embarrassing. It was the most embarrassing thing. So anyway, about a year and a half ago, there was someone that me and a few people online, were acquaintances of. And we were all talking about relationships. We were having this conversation online. And this person out of nowhere is like, yeah, he's like, my girlfriend, this and that. And we were all like, whoa. What girlfriend? And like, oh, no, there's it. And he starts telling us all this stuff and everything. And then he actually, we did a podcast, and I think it was Mish and I were talking about relationships, and online on social media, he wrote a comment about it, enjoying the show, but then like compared him to it. And we were like all saying to us, like, have you heard anything about this person with a girlfriend? And like, no. So, we let it go. We're like, hey, if this person's got a girlfriend, cool. That's pretty cool. And then it became like a repetitive thing, bringing up this person. And then I remember one of us said, what's her name? This person didn't want to tell us. Why do you need to know her name? We're not asking for her address, a date of birth, social media account. What's her first name? And I don't even remember what the name was, but it just felt like the person just threw any name out there. And we realized almost immediately that this person almost did exactly what I did in 1990. Problem is, none of us are 19 years old anymore. And sure enough, we backed off. We're like, hey, man, if this person's got to lie to make it feel like one of us, that's all good. Whatever. I mean, whatever floats your boat. I don't give a shit. I worry about my relationship. I don't care about anybody else's. So about, 2 weeks later, somebody had asked, oh, how's so-and-so going? Oh, we broke up. It was just, and we found out that there was no such girlfriend. But I just don't understand, like, why people do that. I don't. But anyway, as far as being an influencer, that Lucky 13 changed me. And I realized that, if people invest that much emotion in what I do, and it makes them feel that connection is that strong, I owe it to you to be authentic. I owe it to you to be honest. I owe it to you to be straight up. Of course, nobody on God's green earth should be a complete open book. There's things about me that's nobody's business, just like all of you out there. But you don't deserve to be lied to. And the amount of lying that I see that goes on, politics, podcasters, real life, I feel bad for those people. And the worst part about it is the more and more people get busted for it, you see other people, like, I don't want to say forgiving it, but there's so many people that do that, they let it go because they're guilty of it themselves. So, I just feel that we got a very special connection. And, my relationship with everybody out there is different of the relationship with people with Jason or anyone else out there. So, I just take pride of knowing that, what you hear comes out of my mouth is authentic. I might, sensationalize it sometimes to make it more interesting so people don't, shut it off. But what I say is honest. But I don't see myself as an influencer, though. When we had that night, I'm telling you, I know it was game changer for the Soup guys as well. You see person after person after person after person after person after person. It's like, oh my God. What do we do? But in a wonderful way. I mean, it was just awesome. It was awesome. I wish I could take that feeling that night and put it in a bottle. I'm not kidding. I mean, there's moments in my life that I wish I could put in a bottle and just relive that, even, as simple as just the last time I saw my grandmother in 1991, my dog, things like that. I wish I could just bottle it, but that was awesome. The feeling like you wouldn't believe. Andrew 914, since I plan on moving in the future, would I ever consider moving into Benoit's house if it was given to me extremely cheap? Hell no. Is it like Amityville Horror that I have to worry about, I might one day want to strangle my significant other? No. We'd be too creeped out. To be in that room and just envision what went down, and then the other room envision what, I would feel way too uncomfortable, to be honest with you. George Ford, if I had to choose, which one would I prefer? The golden era of wrestling from the 82 to 93 or the new era, 2016 to the present? Honestly, I would choose the golden era because my fondest memories of being a wrestling fan as a child, as a kid, was in the 80s. You know, not just being able to go with my grandmother and, you know, living through WrestleMania 1 and seeing wrestling transform and, you know, seeing Hulkamania, because I was a huge Hulkamaniac at the time, Ultimate Warrior, I mean, Morocco, Snuka, The Cage. I mean, there's just too many, and personal stories as well. 2016 to the present, you know, the wrestling, you know, yes, we got AEW now. It's a nice alternative, and we have some other promotions trying to kick it up a little bit. COVID, obviously, is a write-off for pretty much wrestling. But, nah, I would take, plus 16 to the present is 5 years, 82 to 93 is 11. So there's a lot more memories in those 11 years, to be honest with you. Michael Articolo. Thank you for putting all the time to provide these hours of entertainment. As a kid back in 86, 87, he absolutely detested Dangerous Danny Davis when he went from straight ref to crooked ref, especially when the Hart Foundation beat the Bulldogs for the belts. As an adult, you can now appreciate the nice slow build that they did that time. Do I think a similar angle today would work if WWE took a smaller known performance center wrestler, over 3 to 6 months established him as a referee, culminating to a major title switch? No. You know why I don't think so? For what I said earlier, that demand of instant gratification. You know, I mean, even Retribution, before all the reveals, and they still never revealed who was behind the mask, but the thing was, like, as soon as it started, like, people wanted the reveal. I know I did. And plus, we have such a short attention span now. You know, you see what happened with the hacker storyline. I mean, I compared it to Emma, not in the beginning, because I didn't mind the first 3, 4, 6 weeks of the hacker storyline. But after a while, it got kind of dumb. And if you remember, you know, when I started, you know, where Ali, we now know it's Ali, storyline, but, you know, he's in the women's locker room and this and that, and I started using the phrase creepy Ali, you realize that there needed to be a shift in that storyline, and it would disappear, it'd come back for a week, it would disappear, you know, it was just, and it just failed miserably. And it ended up being like a matter of fact, hey, by the way, everybody, I was the leader I was the hacker, I should say. So everybody's attention span is so much shorter right now. The funny thing is, if there's any good thing that COVID could have brought out of wrestling, other than, you know, some little subtle changes, how we watch it right now, but it allowed some storylines to stretch out longer. And Bayley and Sasha Banks actually ended up doing pretty good. Was it a little too long? Yes, obviously. But even some other storylines, even some in AEW, things were stretched out a lot longer than they would have if COVID never took place. So we might start seeing storylines or feuds stretch out longer now. I mean, look how long Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton are feuding, and it's still not over. You know, I mean, it's obviously going to shift soon. But, you know, so maybe now we might have some feuds that will go longer than maybe a normal feud in 2019, 18, 17, 16. So, and Dangerous Danny Davis, the funny thing is I could not stand him at the time. Not because he became a wrestler, but I just thought he was terrible. I just never... You know, at one point, I thought it was cool. You know, they helped the Hart Foundation beat the British Bulldogs, but when he started wrestling, I don't know, there was just something about him that never clicked for me. And he was one of the, and it wasn't because he was a heel. I just never liked his work. As years went by, I appreciated him more. But, at the time, he was on, get him off my TV. That was how I felt about it. Danny, 2, NOV, which might be November 18th. He asked a question, if I remember, about leaving his job. He wrote this a week ago. It was 6:55 his local time. He submitted his resignation. Last working date is November 27th, which is about 18 days from now. Couldn't watch this Q&A till now because of workload. But, he was the one that requested for shorter videos, and that was the reason. So, hey, man, I always tell everyone out there, I'll never tell someone what to do as far as work or quitting. But one thing is for certain, especially during COVID, you got money problems and you let it go 6, 7, 8, 9 months and not work and just blame it on COVID took your job, you deserve to be in the hole that you dug. But if someone is forced to work a job that they don't want to but have to because they got a family, they got bills, they got this, they got that, like, I envy that person because you're doing something like you're putting yourself aside just to make sure you take care of the people around you or your bills or, so that's a commendable thing. And I always brought up my father. When I was a kid, my father worked 3 jobs at the same time, 18 hours a day. No bullshit, 18 hours a day. I would see him for 10 minutes. He would come home at like 7 o'clock at night. He would always eat like a plate of squash or escarole or something simple. And then 10 minutes later, I'm tired. And he'd go upstairs, take a shower or take a bath, sleep for 4 hours, and then boom, 4 o'clock in the morning, out, working again. And he did this for years and years and years just so he could keep a roof over our head. He could enjoy the nice car that he had. And, so... you have to be the one to determine, where your priorities are. And if you decided that job wasn't for you, I hope if your thinking is, take a little time off, find another job down the line, I hope you get whatever you're looking for. Seriously. Tuxedo Earth, since I dressed up as Mario and Wario, can I do one day as Luigi and Princess Daisy? Maybe next year. A few people have convinced me that once in a while over the year, I could just dress up just for good laughs. That's why I still got the beard over here, and I still have a few other things. But I don't know if I would do Princess Daisy. But Luigi, it is a possibility. So, Tommy Picchetti, do I think Major League Baseball will get more or less analytical in the future, given the backlash against it during the playoffs this year? I think it'll get more analytical because the more time goes by, the more people depend more on statistics than anything else. I always remember the A's, Billy Bean, his version of Billy Ball, I guess you could call it. Stats tell a lot. Doesn't tell the whole story, though. And you're going to see a lot of you're going to see a lot of teams continue to trust statistics more than just your hunches and your intuition and your decision making. And sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't, because you look at some people who have hit dramatic home runs over the years, just in playoffs. You could go down the line from Joe Carter to Bucky Dent to everyone else. But you look at the matchups, sometimes the matchup would have had that person having almost no chance of getting a home run, and they got it anyway. So stats will only get you so far. Stats will help a lot, and I think it'll still continue. I still think it'll go even further. There's going to be some categories that haven't even been created yet that we will end up seeing down the line. Ray Guns, fan since 13, WrestleMania 29 recap. Is Rey Mysterio top 10 or 15 of my all-time greatest list? No. Not top 10 or 15. I could easily come up with 20, 30 wrestlers that I think would be above Rey. For his size, he is top 5 of his size, the greatest of all time. Maybe even top 3, depending on what your weight cutoff is. Rey Mysterio, and you got to understand something. It's not to slight Rey, but if you want to start going from 70s to today, and you got Bruno, and, you got Bret Hart, and Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair, and you just keep going down the line. Jericho, I would put above Rey. But you see how quickly I'm already 5, 6 in, and there's tons of wrestlers. Did I mention Shawn Michaels? I mean, there's tons of wrestlers that I left out that I didn't even, Eddie Guerrero. I kind of would have put Eddie Guerrero maybe a little bit above Rey, I will tell you this, when Rey won the belt, I was doing my wrestling hotline at the time, and as time goes by, it's a little bit harder to believe. But I will tell you that 99% of the people that tune into my hotline didn't like the fact that Rey won the heavyweight title. They didn't like it. I mean, it was a feel-good story, obviously, but they're like, oh, all right, But, I could understand why. And trust me, I didn't have a hotline that bashed everything WWE. I didn't do that. But Rey is definitely in the top 50 of all time. I wouldn't put him in the top 10 or 15. Puffy 89, I frequent Mohegan Sun. Have I ever been to Foxwoods? One time I was this close to going to Foxwoods. But we changed minds at the last minute. We wanted to try it out. But what happened was, at the last second, like, you know what? What if it sucks and, we're not staying all that long, so what if we don't find this? So we decided to just go where we know that we'll have a nice time. Mohegan is extremely clean. Everybody in there is friendly. They are taking COVID-19 extremely seriously. They go out of your way to help. And plus, I have not put my video yet online where I proposed. We have not watched it yet together because COVID hit, and she is more hurt that we had to wait a whole year to even have a party. So we agreed we're not going to watch the video until after COVID is over, or once we have a vaccine and stuff. But when I put that video online, and some of you saw some of the photos of how I set up the room, I couldn't have done that without their cooperation. I had somebody come in there and help me build the rows on the bed and stuff like that. So Mohegan is just a pleasant experience. I try to go every 2 to 3 months, not even really to gamble. We do a little playing, and you see I keep stepping in shit and keep winning. I mean, it's weird. If I'm sure you've all have seen the one from 2 months ago. I actually, believe it or not, I have the video literally right here. I don't know if I could cue it up really quick. Let me see if I could cue it up. Yeah, here's one. Yeah, all right, yeah. Here's a video, because the story behind this one, for anybody that never saw this, when I played penny machines. Once in a while, I'll play a quarter machine because the odds are supposed to be a little bit better, but I don't bet hard. And my mom gave me $100. And she said to me, she goes, I want you to play the dollar machine at least once. I'm like, Mom, the money will be gone in 2 minutes because that's how fast it goes through. She's like, no, you got to promise you got to do it once. I said, okay. So I get the $100 and I put 50 in the machine. And lo and behold, not even 2 minutes later, this happens. Oh, wait, whoa. Why is it crooked? Oh, that sucks. Can I rotate this? All right, let me see if I can rotate this. All right, yeah, this is a little better. All right, let me play it again. All right, this is what happened. And you hear me say "ma" because I've recorded the video so she could see what happened with the money she gave me. But check this out. made the dollar. That's what we're winning so far. We're on the last Plinko.
This is it. Drop it.
Whatever it lands on, those are dollars. I don't know, it was like $650. Those are dollars. $365. Thank you, Mom. Yeah, it says $365, but when I cashed everything out, it was like $650. So, but yeah, I get lucky once in a while. At the night I got engaged, I hit the jackpot 3 times on machines, and I recorded each one. And oh my God, the people on Twitter that hate anything good news for Don Tony, oh my God, go back and look at those videos and just look at the list of the people who did not like the video. Very telling. Tells you a lot about somebody, by the way. But I really enjoy Mohegan. It's just a wonderful time. I have a great time. And I'm going again the last week in November, just to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of us getting engaged there. So, Joseph Acevedo, he'd like to see me do a Wednesday show with OKFabe with Connor. I have no problem doing it. I would love to do it. Right now, Shaheen, Nuclear Heat Graphics, is working on some new templates for me. He's doing an Ask DT one for the Q&As. He's making one up for me. He's also going to make one up for me that has 2 video boxes. Because right now, the only one that I have with 2 video boxes is Breakfast Soup, whether it's, Monday show or Patreon. And he's going to make one with 2 boxes that don't have names on them. This way, if I have someone on, they could go right in that on the screen. So right now, if you see me, if I bring him on, there's only 1 video box. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm still getting used to the video side of this and the YouTube and trying to organize and be a little bit, streamlined. But yeah, that will happen. I would love to do something with him, and I know he would love to as well. So yeah, that will happen. It doesn't have to be on a Wednesday also. I agree, Puffy. Bobby Heenan would have been a great podcast. Could you imagine him taking calls? The number of ham and eggers that he would get on the phone. I think you imagine if he had a cameo. Bobby Heenan is a cameo, just insulting people. I swear to God, I would probably, if I could put the money together, I'd drop $250 to have Bobby Heenan put me down in a comedic way. Oh man, Bobby Heenan would have raked up a cameo. God, he would have made crazy money. Shit. Oh my God, the more I think about that. Jeremiah Johnson, do myself and my significant other want to have children together? Thank you for the kind words. Great man. Would love to see me pass it to the next generation. Honestly, I think that ship has sailed a little bit. We still have some convo about having kids. The problem is I'm so inundated now. If I did have kids, obviously things would change. Some of these shows would have to go away. Priorities would shift, obviously. But the thing is that, I'm getting older. She's getting older. My parents, thank God they're still here, but they're getting older. Tomorrow, my mom and my dad are both having eye surgery done. They have, the hospital is picking them up in the van, taking them to Astoria. They're getting operated. They can only do one eye tomorrow. But I'm going to their house tomorrow afternoon to, take care of dinner for them, make sure everything's set up for them. And then tomorrow night, I got to do a Patreon show with Mish. So, it's something we've talked about, but the thing is, there's so much going on. It's, that would be, it's not an inconvenience, but it would be, change lives. How we handle our lives would be different. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't see it, to be honest with you, but excuse me. Zevia. Wow. I feel a little embarrassed. I usually don't do that. I used to have the cough thing, because I think it's the most disrespectful thing to cough on a show. But you just saw what happened. It literally went down the wrong pipe. Oh, man, that sucks. But, look, never say never, but I don't think that's going to happen. Kevon Lewis, the most underrated WrestleMania, in my opinion. For him, it's WrestleMania 22. Wow. I tell you the truth, man. 22 is not a bad WrestleMania. I have to go with this year. I really do. Because with COVID, there was such low expectations for WrestleMania. I mean, if you remember, you had droves of people cancel WrestleMania, cancel WrestleMania, cancel WrestleMania. Okay, we're going to do it. We're not going to do it with fans. Cancel WrestleMania. And in hindsight, The Undertaker, AJ Styles, John Cena, Bray Wyatt, put those aside. It was some pretty damn good matches. It was a 2-night event. And I think this year's WrestleMania does not get its due enough. See, I just muted my cough just now. I don't think it gets enough due, to be honest with you. I mean, there's been some WrestleManias over the years that were not as bad as people portrayed it to be. There's been some others also that have one, maybe 2 great matches, and people are like, oh, remember that WrestleMania? So, I've had people tell me that, WrestleMania 3 was the greatest of all time. You take away 2 matches, maybe 3 tops, there was a lot of filler as well. But I don't know. I got to give it to this year's WrestleMania. I don't think anybody ever expected it to be as good as what it was. Was it one of the best WrestleManias? No. But we definitely got our money's worth, I think, in my opinion. Shout out to Starkiller709. Willie G. In all walks of life, he seems to know and mimic Macho Man. So in the respect, could we say that he is the Elvis of the wrestling world? Maybe the same with Ric Flair and his woos. Yeah, I don't think that's that far-fetched. I mean, it's amazing to see how many people who do Ric Flair's woo. Plus, they do his catchphrase, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And I'm sure people said that before Ric Flair ever did. But with Macho Man, sure. I think Hulk Hogan as well. Everybody's like, brother. So, but Macho Man, yeah, with the, ooh, yeah, sure. Somebody did a promo for me once on my hotline, and I got it still somewhere in my archives. Somebody did an intro for my old hotline, and was Macho Man. And when I played it for everyone, I didn't tell everyone that it was somebody pretending to be Macho Man. And 99% of the list, maybe 1 or 2, might have said something. And I think they only said it because they just want to be an asshole. But everybody thought it was really Macho Man. They're like, how did you get Macho Man to cut a promo for your show? And I'm like, I don't know. It was just left on my hotline one day, which was true. But I knew who did it. But he sounded exactly like Macho Man. I still got it somewhere. Because I added the WCW thing, because he was in WCW at the time. And it was like, what up, Macho? You listening to... And it's like, the Macho Man is thinking. But it was funny. I got to share it one day. I got to look at my old hard drive, because I still have it. But, yeah, Doug Eaton. His mother in March of this year was diagnosed with liver cancer. Oh, and it spread to her lymph nodes. Her cancer bills are helping her, but we recently heard that it may not be treatable. She's trying to stay positive through this current COVID situation. His father is busting his ass to stay positive and risking himself and his mom working every day to take care of her. Absolutely. He loves his dad for that. There's not a moment where they're not in his mind. He knows I'm very close to my parents. How do I cope with their situation? First of all, my thoughts are with your family. Seriously, thoughts and prayers. Got to stay strong and fight the fight. Because, like I said, with my mom, she was clinically pronounced dead twice. This is now, 3 years later? a little over 3 years later. Look, I've done research of the life expectancy for someone who went through what my mom went through with the pig valve and everything else, and it's not long. And like I said, it freaks me out sometimes when my phone rings late at night from the house, especially when my father's cell. I still cringe, and every time that happens, I expect to hear something horrible. Thank God I haven't yet. How I deal with it is I realize that we're all going to go sometime. And it bothers me to see my mom sometimes in the pain that she's in. She won't say anything because she doesn't want us to think, to be concerned. But I do know that when I go to see her and she's got this smile on her face from me, look at this with the casino thing. My mom doesn't have bucks to be throwing $100 here and there and that, but she just wanted me to do it once. And I hit. And I tried to give her half the money. She wouldn't take it, so I treated her the dinner instead. My point is that, I choose to spend my time and I try to maximize it. Like I said, I'm going to see them tomorrow. And I see them 1 or 2 times a week. I talk to her every day. And I just appreciate the time that I still have. And I'm not going to take it for granted. Because tomorrow is never guaranteed for any of us out there. Once in a while I see on social media, I'll see some of you out there post that, this happened to this person you care about, a family member, a pet, loved one. Pet would be a loved one, but you know what I mean. And a lot of times just happen unexpectedly. So I will not go through the rest of my life thinking to myself, I should have been closer to my mom. I should have been closer to my dad. I should have told him that I loved him. I wish I could have had one more day. You always want that one more time. But you got to just enjoy the time. And that's the only advice I could give you, to be honest with you. So, Victor Wilson thinks that I could be JD from New York's dad. I don't know. I mean, could I? I don't know how old JD is. So is that mathematically possible? Maybe it is. But is JD Italian too? He might be Italian. So it's all good. It's all good. Blows me away that people online for some reason think like I have issues with him, Jason, Joe Cronin, some of these other shows out there. Sometimes like I get a troll that'll come over and they'll say like, blah, blah, blah is the best. And I'm like, yeah, I think they're awesome. I think they're excellent. Yeah, what's your point? Like, I don't consider myself in competition. I've been doing this since 97. I'm not in competition with anyone. I will admit that I am extremely jealous to see that they, after many years being on YouTube, are reaping the rewards of more listeners and more statistics and, yeah, more revenue as well. And no way, shape, or form am I ever going to try to take that away from everyone. But my point is that, I realize now, and if there's a lesson to be learned from everyone out there, you have opportunities and you have the capability of taking them or going for it, go for it. Because you may never get that opportunity again. And, I wanted to go to YouTube 10 years ago. And for various reasons, it didn't happen. Then 5 years ago, pursued, something else, possibly satellite radio, and it didn't happen. And it gets to a point where, you got to make a decision, and even though the history show was a big challenge, it was very complacent and boring. You do it for that many years and you're just doing the same thing. Then when, I started talking about branching out, And then I see people not greeting it like, oh, man, that's cool. Good luck, man. You know, like people are trying to make me feel guilty and trying to put me down, and people telling me to my face, oh, man, you know, that's great, this and that. If you all saw half the DMs that I've seen over the last year, like right a little bit before when I got engaged, because I had announced, I think in October of last year or July. No, I think it was August of last year, because I started gutting this room. Once people started to see I was gutting this room and starting to set it up and seeing it come together, you had to see some of the DM screenshots that people sent me of many people. Not just one. I don't want anybody out there to think this is a Kevin Castle bash brigade. This is very little to do with him right now. We know we don't need to bring that up again. But others, you have no idea, you know. And I realized that, you know, at the end of the day, you got to worry about yourself. You got to worry about yourself. And, you know, I try to block that out. You know, I bring it up once in a while. If you notice on the other shows, I've really dramatically cut that back. But if we have a discussion on Q&A and it's needed, yeah, I'll bring it up. But, you know, I just, I'm not in competition with anyone. I'm just trying to have fun, you know. And since I've been doing this for this long and people still support me, I feel like I kind of owe it to them a little bit. But there's no question, no, I definitely need to start streamlining this a little bit. You know, my body on the weekend tells me it. They're like, dude, you need to sleep at least fucking 6 hours. If you don't, I'm going to give you a heart attack soon. You know, like I could tell the difference of me sleeping 3 hours and sleeping 6 or 7 hours. So I've spent too many decades living on 3 hours sleep. I can't do it anymore. So even tonight, for the show I'm doing tonight with Mish, Raw, Survivor Series card, Undertaker discussion, and that's it. So hopefully this week is really the start. I mean, they're not going to be cut down to nothing, but it's going to be cut down enough where everybody out there could enjoy every minute of every show during the week, not have to devote 20 hours, you know? Because I know a lot of you out there enjoy multiple podcasters. It would be a little bit unfair for me to say, okay, here's 25 hours a week for me. You got to enjoy them all. So it's not fair to all of you. King Bling Blah. What did I think about Wrestling Society X? I'll tell you, man. When that came out in MTV, you know, you don't understand. I got to put up a couple of archives of my show from back then for you to enjoy. Because to summarize it, I love the concept of Wrestling Society X. Reminded me, I always thought Lucha Underground was influenced a little bit by Wrestling Society X. But the one thing that always amazed me about Wrestling Society X was that some people who were deeply involved in XPW were deeply involved in Wrestling Society X. And anybody that's a long timer with me knows this already. That when XPW was coming in the Northeast and I was working for them, you had to see all of these losers on other websites that were doing everything possible to prevent that from happening. And you had some very good people that worked within XPW. Kevin Kleinrock, you know, oh my God, the Chris Kloss, I think his name was. There was a bunch of people that were just fabulous. Chaos was cool. I mean, there was so many people that were really, really working their ass off, not just in front of the camera, but behind it to make it work. And they were greeted with road bumps and barriers all throughout the time. And, you know, I can understand why people were angry at Rob Black, but to some of the other people, it was horrible the way they were treated. And then XPW was done. And then Wrestling Society X comes around. And some of the same players are heavily involved in this. And they're getting the red carpet treatment from a lot of these same people on these websites. And I will never mention names, but there were two people involved in Wrestling Society X that I had talked to early on. And they said to me, look at this motherfucker. Look at this prick bastard. This motherfucker did everything he could to shut us down in Philly. Now this motherfucker is putting us front page and doing interviews and all this stuff. They saw the shadiness, but they were going to embrace it because they needed as much publicity as possible. Wrestling Society X, yes, you think of a very young Seth Rollins, Matt Sydal, Jack Evans, like you said, even Joey Ryan made an appearance. You had New Jack, you had some crazy concepts. And the music part of it, XPW was trying to do that during intermissions. They were trying to incorporate a musical side of this. I loved it. But unfortunately, when you realize it was with MTV, that the shelf life may not be as long as it should have. And sure enough, wasn't like the last episode never aired and then they had to put it on a DVD or something. Wrestling Society X was a great concept and it showcased a lot of people. Some of it was kind of goofy, let's be honest. But overall, I'm glad that it came around. I'm glad that it came around. Blazing Bolts, thoughts on where we're headed as a country? Divided for a very long time. For 4 years, 70 million people were accused of being racist because they supported the president. Now, he's no longer the president because I don't think it's going to be overturned. And now life is great. I look at it like this. I don't want to name any celebrities in particular. There's a few celebrities I absolutely adore. I think you could figure out a few of them. And I saw those celebrities over the last 2 weeks pretty much indirectly call me, even though I didn't vote for Trump, but call me and a lot of other people the most disgusting, vile, disrespectful, how could you get behind a racist, this and that, like just reading almost off a script. And then they got what they wanted. Now life is grand. And, this country is not going to heal for a very, very, very long time. Just because you get, like I said Friday, just because you're crying like a baby and somebody sticks the pacifier in your mouth, which is Joe Biden as president, and you stop crying, sooner or later that nipple is going to come out of your mouth again, and then the same shit's going to happen again. A country, that's why, like I said, till the day how I feel right now, I'm not going to screw anybody over, but I worry about me only. I worry about my family only. I worry about my fiance only. I worry about enjoying what I do here only. I worry about only paying off I only worry about my inner circle. Of course, I care for people outside. I donated this weekend, somebody, indirect friend of the show, was shaving his head for charity in the UK, and I contributed some funds towards that. Not a lot, but, like 50 pounds or whatever. And I know some of you did as well. So I will still help where I can. And I'm always here for all of you, obviously. But my point is, I'm not getting bogged down with politics no more. I'm not getting bogged down with, if I want to be involved with something, I will. But I'm not going to turn my life upside down, because a lot of those people, they only care when election time comes around. Then after that, they can't give a shit about you. So, let's see. Hi, my Pete. He's got an idea. He thinks Retribution should go to NXT, change their name, take over, and have Cross and Scarlett lead them. I like it. Problem is, Cross and Scarlett have not been burned from WWE or NXT. They got, obviously, sidetracked with the injury, but I'm telling you, I think Retribution, believe it or not, although so far it's been pretty much a huge letdown. I don't want to call it a disaster. I would say it's a huge letdown. But I think people forget the people behind the masks. Dijakovic is a great talent. Mia Yim is awesome. Dio Madden has a lot of potential. You know, Shane Thorne, you know, he may not stand out as much as the other guys or gals. But, you know, there's some good names behind it. So let's see where it goes. Let's see where it goes. Shout out to Joy Season. Eddie Lunchmeat, have I ever experimented with drugs? Yeah, I've tried cocaine 3 times in my life. Will never do it again. Smoked weed a couple of times. Gives me a headache, or I get an insane craving for munchies where I just pig out beyond belief. I always told the infamous story. Somebody gave me chocolate Thai about 15 years ago. And I smoked it for pain, legit for pain. And I felt pretty good. Next thing I know, I was making spaghetti with garlic and oil, and it was 3:30 in the morning. I just, I get insane urges to eat on that stuff. The cocaine stuff, the 3 times I tried it, I did it with women. 2 times with my ex-girlfriend, once with another girl that I had the opportunity to do something and I wimped out. But my ex-girlfriend, it was what I saw, and a lot of you know the story already. I'm not going to get into the whole thing now. We're going to wrap this up in a minute. But long story short, we were in a hotel room, and it was a Friday night. And, yeah, I was in my early 20s, so I could stay out overnight if I want. So we rented a hotel room out for the night, cheap hotel room in Hempstead, Queens. And we got an 8-ball. And we were having the time of our lives. Not going to get too personal, but, you know, I enjoyed myself. And we were up all night long. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. We had to get ready to check out. We just wanted to continue. So I paid the room for another day, and we got more, and we partied. We slept a little bit, partied more. And then there was one point Saturday night where there was virtually none left, and she wanted me to get more again. And I'm like, I can't afford this. You know, that's enough. That's enough. And she was fiending really bad, and there was a little bit on the table, and I'll never forget it. And she was just like really, really fiending, like putting me down because I wouldn't buy more. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. And I took the rest that was on the table, and I went like this, and it went on the floor. And like a dog, she actually went on the floor on her knees and her hands and started sniffing the rug to get whatever little residue is left. This was a shit hotel for like $40 a night that people would go just to bang for 4 hours and then leave. And I'm looking, I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm saying, this is my girlfriend. And Lord knows not only how many barefoot strangers have walked all around that room, how many people just decided to do doggy on the floor. I could only imagine what she was sniffing. The most disgusting thing I ever saw, that was it. No more. Never done. One time somebody gave me an upper, and I was in grammar school, and I picked up a rock. Some of you know that story already, and I hit this girl in the face with it by accident. My father ended up giving me like a giant, like Simpson doll or something for her, and she forgave me. She didn't get hurt. It was another time somebody gave me acid. This girl that I picked up, she had something in foil, and she's like, no, smoke it. It's like weed. I smoked it. It smelled like burnt chicken. It was the one and only time I ever did that. Never did crack, never did heroin. Seriously, in my lifetime, cocaine 3 times, technically. Weed a couple of times at most. I can't. And uppers once, angel dust once. And I will say this, have not touched any of that stuff since I was maybe 25. So, yeah, don't. I stay away from it. Don't get in the habit either. Kyle Kazmarski, what's up? Once COVID-19 vaccine is widely available, I don't know why you say mid-2021. It's going to be sooner than that. But do I see a post-COVID boom in business and society? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. There's going to be a huge boom. whoever the president is, there will be a boom. Let's see how it's handled. Brian M., how did I get into the insurance business? Very easy. Very easy. I got my car accident in 1996 that almost killed me. I have permanent injuries to this day. I have metal inside my body still. And when I had the accident, I was on my father's policy, driving a car on his policy. My father owned a house, owned a couple of businesses. And when we filed the claim, he realized that the Allstate agent gave him minimum liability. So my father said to the agent, like, how do you only insure me for $25,000 when I have all this property? What if it would have hit a stranger? And my father immediately canceled, and I started looking into insurance on my own. I was in a wheelchair for a while. I couldn't walk, so I had to pass the time somehow. So I got my insurance broker's license, and I decided I was going to open my own business. And when I sold insurance, I wasn't going to insure anyone for minimum liability only. And thank God I still have that business to this day. The only problem is car insurance right now, the market is terrible. So, my business is struggling. Plus, a lot of people had to cancel because they couldn't afford to keep the insurance because of what's going on with COVID. But that's how I got in the insurance business, because of how we got burned from car accident that I was in. King Jason, shout out to you, my friend. Yeah, we'll be doing game night this weekend as well. I might try to do it one night this week, maybe Thursday night. I really, because Thursday night seems to be free for the most part. So maybe Thursday night, and you're all invited. We do Jackbox, we do Among Us. And you just got to be very wary of King Jason Lynn. Trust me, everyone. I've checked online to see if there are cheat sheets available for some of these games, and there aren't. This guy is just a master of these games sometimes. You got to just see this guy whip out answers to some of these games. I'm impressed. I'll always appreciate someone with a good head on their shoulders. And plus, when we do the drawing games for Jackbox, he's a great drawer as well. So good job, Jason. Ryan Tuddell, and we only have 2-3 more questions, everyone. Ryan, the next year, how far do I see Impact Wrestling going? What do I think it needs to get to the next level? Honestly, they need one or two business promotions to either go out of business or really take steps down. Impact Wrestling has a fun nucleus, but you could see, that they have to consume a lot of their time with Wrestler House, Who Shot Johnny Bra. And I'm not saying that those are bad. They're not. But you could see Impact Wrestling is more of, I don't want to say a Lucha Underground influence, but they're more of like some of the outrageous stories, is more, but they have a good core nucleus of people. I think what's going to help Impact go to the next level is COVID's got to get out of here. Got to start getting fans back. When I said a couple of years ago that Impact would be a Canadian promotion, pretty much Canada. Yes, they go to areas in the United States, but for me, they're a Canadian promotion. I think they have to, just build small, and it's going to take years and years and years. The problem is they have commitments all across the globe that they have to adhere to, and that's not easy to do. So when I criticize NWA for saying that they're not doing anything right now, I will give credit to Impact, because Impact, they almost have to. They almost have to, because of, their history and the commitments that they have. They're not doing a bad job, but they got to just focus, keep doing what they're doing, and hopefully in a couple of years, it'll organically just go to the next level. So shout out to Curly, man. Very, very appreciative of what you said. He's basically told me he wanted to thank me for getting him through this week and last week with the videos and the podcast. He said, when life hits you bad, my videos are always a joy to watch. It's the ultimate compliment, man. Seriously. I really appreciate that, because like I said, I know I'm not the most aesthetically nice to look at. I know I don't have the most professional setup. I know that my style is not extremely professional. I know, my style turns off a lot of people as well. I just try to be myself. And this is the same formula since 1997. I try to talk and act like it's just we're all friends, just having a conversation about wrestling. Yes, I'm the only one talking, but, I could see, some people, and I feel bad sometimes for people that are with me 10, 15, 20 years, because when you're around that long, unfortunately, you hear a lot of stories repeated over the years. And the reason being is because the audience I have now is different. Sure, my core nucleus of my family is still here, but there are always new people tuning in. So when I do tell some stories, it's not that let me just fall back on this story and, that eats up 15 minutes of great. No, it's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of new listeners. So I bring up some things again so they know about it. But I just try to be myself. There are people out there that have to be a character. There are people out there that have to take a positive side of something, be uber positive, that, nothing could go wrong, or everything sucks and everything's horrible. I just tell it like it is. And unfortunately, when I criticize certain things, some of those areas that I criticize, it's not well received. I am not going to start lying, and I'm not going to start, censoring myself so I could rub elbows with more people or get, if I get opportunities or if I get acknowledgement or people enjoy it, I want them to enjoy it because of the organic, content. Everything I say here is authentic. My mouth gets myself in trouble sometimes, but, at the end, that's what I love about changing my views on a lot of things over the years. I don't need to lie. I'm not a good liar. And I don't want to be like that person, like I said to you before. That person got caught lying about dating a girl that didn't exist. I don't want to be caught in a lie where then I got to keep up that lie for years and decades. And, that's why, if you notice, like I said, people could call me all these negative things in a book. The one thing they never, ever call me is a liar. So I really appreciate those kind words. And, I thank you for allowing me to, help with your days a little bit. Retro Gamer, what would I do to improve NXT ratings? Mix up the format a little bit. They start off strong, and it just goes down and down and down. You see the format. I bring it up every week. Open up NXT with a really good long match. Sometimes the outcomes are kind of shitty, but they always open up with a really good long match. Then we get vignette, 1 minute match, vignette, extended match, vignette, another 1 or 2 minute match, vignette, main event. And some of the names on that card, and I bring them up every week with the quarter-hour ratings, some of those names are not clicking with fans and the masses. So, yeah, it took a gimmick Halloween Havoc to get them a strong rating, and it felt good to see the ratings pop for a Gargano and a Damian Priest. Damian Priest, it baffles me. When I brought up his quarter-hour ratings for the last 4 months or so, I look back on him and I'm baffled. I'm like, I don't understand how fans are not connecting more to this guy. But you see other people too. Cameron Grimes. I'm starting to feel bad for that guy. I mean, consistently, ratings drop. Yes, the Haunted House match had some decent numbers, but everything else, big drops in ratings. So they got to mix it up a little bit more. And if they have to do more themed events, so be it. So be it. You do one a month. Hey, you do pay-per-views once a month. So if NXT can't do a pay-per-view once a month, do a themed event once a month. It's a big deal. sooner or later, somebody's going to start saying, wait a minute, why is it a big deal? WWE does a pay-per-view every month, so NXT technically doing like kind of a pay-per-view, but their pay-per-views are every couple of months. So, and finally, Crazy Cruiserweight. Top 3 favorite Thanksgiving dishes to eat. I'm putting my diet aside for now and just thinking overall, I like white meat turkey with gravy, biscuits, loads of stuffing. Has to be loads of stuffing. Loads of stuffing. My mom always made from scratch lasagna that is just outrageous, out of this world. And believe it or not, it's a tradition that my mom started doing about 15 years ago, and it still hasn't changed. And I still eat it, but I just throw the bread away. But my father makes these unbelievable 6-foot Italian heroes from his deli. You remember the infamous one that was on ECW's pay-per-view. And what my mom and dad do now is on Thanksgivings and on Christmas, they'll get a 3-foot version of it, and with turkey and with everything else, they'll also have a hero on the table. So for me on Thanksgiving, turkey, gravy, biscuit, stuffing, a little bit of lasagna, and a nice piece of Italian hero. I'm set. I am set. Which game do I prefer, chess or checkers? When I was held up for 2 years, laid up for 2 years with my accident, I was laid up for longer than that, but as far as really staying home, it was almost 2 years. I learned how to play chess. I actually had bought from like Home Shopping Network because I was watching nothing but TV and buying stuff off of TV. It was QVC. I bought an electronic chess game. I learned how to play, and I was playing against computer. And I got damn good at it. Problem is, you start being able to go out again, then you start dating someone almost immediately. You know, you don't have time to play chess, and I completely forgot how to play that game. So one day I will learn how to play again, and I loved playing it, loved it. But right now, checkers would be the choice of the two. And finally, when I used to go clubbing and could legally drink, what was my go-to drink? Absolute Cranberry, Remy Martin Cognac once in a while if I wanted to think like I was a member of Goodfellas or Mafia. Me and my friends would get Cognac, Remy Martin. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know if we all thought that we were more like wannabes or whatever, but it was just, I don't know. We used to do a lot of the shots. What would happen is the girl would come around with these capsules filled with like shots, and they'd have like a tray of 50. And what me and some of my friends would do is we would chip in and buy the whole tray, and we would just walk around and just give them to various, girls in the club because we're heterosexual. So that's what we used to do. But as far as my go-to drink, Absolute Cranberry. That was always my number one drink. Now, because of me being on a keto diet, I drink once in a while vodka martini, Grey Goose martini. I could actually enjoy it a little bit now. I never liked martinis before, other than apple martini, but I have just a straight up Grey Goose martini. And, it's probably one of the only things that I can have. I don't like tequila as much as I used to, but back in the day, Absolute Cranberries all night long. There would be other drinks like Minor Racers and others that I would get into as well, but Absolute Cranberry would always be my go-to. And with that, everyone, I am out of here. I wish everyone well for the next 2 weeks. I showed you earlier on the top, and I will have a link in this video as well. Click that link and post your questions for the next Q&A, which I will do in 2 weeks. And like I said, if any questions pop up on this video thread, I will include them as well. But I would get your questions in by Survivor Series time. If you want to comment, we'll leave it up until like midnight of Survivor Series. So if you have any falling out of Survivor Series, like something happened at Survivor Series and you want me to answer a question about it, you could post it. So I'll give everybody until that Monday morning. So you have until the Monday after Survivor Series to post your questions. And I'll record it that Monday afternoon. And that's it. So everyone, thank you as always. Wow, we were able to get it done in under 2 hours. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right. So everyone enjoy the evening. Right now it is 5:03 p.m., as you probably saw in the background. I am going to put this online, go grab a little bit of dinner, and then start preparing for tonight's breakfast soup roll with Mish. So thanks, everybody. Much love as always. Be well, and I'll catch you all again soon. Ciao.